Picture two entrepreneurs pitching the exact same business plan. The first walks in wearing a tailored suit, speaks with perfect posture, and casually drops the name of the Ivy League university they just graduated from. Then the second candidate walks in. Their clothes are a bit rumpled from the rain outside, they avoid eye contact, they stumble over their opening sentence, and their resume lists a school you have never heard of. If you had to wire one of them $1 million right now, who do you pick? Before you even consciously weigh the options, your brain has already locked in on the first candidate. But here's the catch. Neither of them has shown you a single spreadsheet. You have zero data on their profit margins, their customer acquisition cost, or their actual business skills. You just fabricated a resume out of thin air based entirely on how they looked and sounded. Psychologists have spent a century studying this specific mental glitch. It is called the halo effect. By letting one isolated positive trait spill over into completely unrelated qualities, this quiet cognitive shortcut constantly alters how we distribute wealth, select our leaders, and decide who gets hired. We can trace the discovery of this bias back to 1920, when psychologist Edward Thorndike was studying how military commanding officers evaluated their soldiers. Thorndike had the officers rate the men on various distinct characteristics, but as the troops would line up for inspection, a strange statistical pattern emerged around physical appearance. If an officer thought a soldier looked sharp and impressive in his uniform, that same soldier almost always received incredibly high scores in completely unrelated categories, like intelligence, reliability, and leadership. This animation illustrates how your mind handles data overload. The human brain processes massive amounts of information every second. To keep from crashing, it uses biological workarounds called heuristics, collapsing dozens of complex variables into simple, single mental shortcuts. The mind craves consistency. If it sees one obvious positive trait on the outside, it automatically spreads that assumption to all the hidden internal traits. Your brain willingly trades accuracy for speed. It projects an unearned halo of total competence around a person just because they check one visible box. This creates immediate ripple effects across modern systems. In the corporate world, researchers track a documented beauty premium. People deemed conventionally attractive consistently secure higher starting salaries and score better in job interviews, despite having identical qualifications to their peers. It happens early, too. Inside the classroom, teachers unconsciously anticipate that tidy and polite students will produce superior academic work, often giving them more encouragement and opportunities as a result. You see it in your own buying habits. If a company manufactures one fantastic smartphone, you naturally assume their laptops and headphones are equally brilliant long before you ever read a review. And in politics, a candidate speaking forcefully and projecting confidence from a podium is frequently interpreted by voters as hard proof of their honesty and ability to govern. None of this is based on guaranteed objective merit. These vast systemic advantages are powered entirely by statistical patterns of human assumption. This bias becomes particularly dangerous when it links up with a sociological principle known as the Matthew effect, which states that early success inevitably generates more success. This flowchart maps out exactly how the trap works. The cycle starts when the halo effect projects an initial illusion of competence onto a person. Because they appear capable based on a superficial trait, society naturally grants them a chance to prove it. They then leverage that unearned opportunity to gain actual experience and secure real-world achievements. The loop closes, locking in a lifetime of compounding advantages that all stemmed from a single, irrelevant characteristic. But the halo effect does have a critical weakness. It can only survive in an information vacuum. The moment you introduce structured evaluations or blind auditions, the illusion shattered. In an era where we swipe and scroll through digital profiles, forming opinions in seconds, this bias operates with fewer checks and balances than ever. True fairness requires us to stop assuming and start demanding objective evidence. And if you happen to be someone starting out without the polished credentials or the conventional halo, know that the world is going to make assumptions. Your job is to lead with undeniable proof of your competence and force them to look at the data.